Hi, this is Patrick Henry with the Real Deal What Matters. Today, we're going to start a new series, and I haven't done one of these in quite some time. But with everything going on with the COVID-19 crisis and resulting economic impact and the stress that people are feeling, I wanted to do a short series. Hopefully, it'll be a short series because it's going to be a short time that we have going on here with the issues. But basically, we're going to focus on leadership and dealing with adversity. And my inaugural guest for this series is my good friend, Aaron Summerall. I met Aaron a few months ago up in Utah playing wheelchair basketball. Fortunately for me, I was able to get up out of the chair afterwards. And Aaron actually jumped up out of the chair and he has one leg. He lost a leg during a motorcycle accident when he was 20 years old. But he is quite an athletic young guy and very impressive, and just really hit it off with him. He during we were taking a group photo during the event, and Aaron jumped out of his chair and jumped up on top of another chair, one of those folding chairs. I thought, wow, this guy is something else, and was able to take the picture. And then we played some basketball. He's quite an incredible athlete in the chair and out of the chair. So Aaron was born in Houston, Texas, and now lives in Orem, Utah. His first name is Derek, but he goes by Aaron. He's from a very large family, and I'm sure he'll tell us a little bit more about that. And as I mentioned, he lost his right leg in a motorcycle accident and had a long recovery period, both emotionally as well as physically. And I think he'll tell us a little bit about that. He's now mentoring kids with physical disabilities. He does play wheelchair basketball at the highest level, playing for the Utah Wheeling Jazz. And he also helps kids from a mentorship standpoint that come from rough backgrounds and rough homes. So with that, I'll open it up to Aaron, and you can tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll have a little chat.
Hey, thanks, Patrick. Appreciate you having me on. And I a lot to get into, but yeah, you did a really good summary of basically my life. I was born in Houston, Texas. When I was very young, I was adopted to a family here in Utah. I was one of 10 children, and later became one of 13. I have three little sisters, two of which are mentally handicapped with Down syndrome and cerebral palsy. So it's very interesting growing up in such a diverse, but I feel very blessed to have grown up in such a diverse home. It's kind of like you explained, life kind of just went on, and eventually when I got to 20 years old, I lost my leg in a motorcycle wreck, and it was really tough at first to overcome some of the mental, not so much the physical, but after just a few short years, 10 to be exact, I finally decided, you know what, this is not the life I want. I don't want to be negative and bitter and angry and frustrated at life itself or with others. I'm just not going to be anymore. And that was really kind of the turning point for me. I hit and killed a pedestrian, unfortunately, when I was 25 years old, and that cost me a few years of my freedom. And it was in that loss of freedom stage that I finally realized I want a different life. I want a better life. I want to own businesses. I want to, make an impact on my community, on my family, and give back to the community. And so now a lot of my dedicated to service and helping others kind of think through what I call the stinking thinking.
That's incredible. So, I mean, you've obviously dealt with a ton of adversity. Um, I guess the current thing we're going through is adversity at the highest level for a lot of people. It's definitely very unique. But I mean, obviously, you've been through a lot. You've dealt with a lot. You've come out on the other side. So, tell us a little bit about kind of what was going on with you emotionally after the accident, while you were in prison, and some of the things that you've done to kind of turn your life around, and then how you're applying that in the current, crisis that's going on.
Okay, I'll kind of go from about the loss of the leg, and bring you up to date, which is about 16 years worth of life. So we'll try to do 16 years worth of life in a few short minutes. If only that's how it works sometimes, huh?
Exactly.
Right, so at 20, like I said, May 1st of 2004, I was involved in a motorcycle wreck where I was doing about 125 miles an hour, and the back tire blew out, hit some trees on the side of the road, had a compound fracture in my left leg at the shin, and then um, a complete break where it took a 4-inch piece of femur, turned it sideways, and sent it through my artery. And that was the biggest contributing factor to the loss of the leg. It was also completely shattered from the knee down to the big toe. Um, so my attitude after that, honestly, I didn't know when I first woke up that that's what was the case. But I remember very vividly looking at the end of my bed, and my dad and my brother were there. And I remember that my dad was crying, which I was like, it's dad. He does that. And then looking at my brother and seeing him crying as well threw me off. And as I slowly panned up and realized, oh my gosh, I'm missing the leg. So it was a really, say a wake up call. That's a really unique wake up call. And so from that point right there, I kind of went into a depression and a frustration, and thought, my most frequent thought was, God, why me? Like, I believe strongly in my higher power, and Jesus Christ, and I just, for the life of me, couldn't wrap my head around why me, and stuck in that why me type of mindset for quite a while. When I got out of the hospital finally, after about 3-ish months, I came home on a Monday afternoon, and on a Friday morning, I was headed back to the ER, and also the ICU for a gunshot wound to the abdomen. And so I just kind of had the thought after that point, like, man, this is just, you can't die. You've tried twice now, to go early, and it's just not working. And so at that point, I started to say, okay, I got to figure something else out. I got to do something different. And unfortunately for me, I wasn't ready at that time. So at that time, I went ahead and spiraled out of control with with drug abuse from pills that the doctors were prescribing. And once that was no longer enough, I started to go down a really dark and dangerous road with other drugs, eventually getting me sent to the penitentiary for a negligent homicide, which was hitting and killing a pedestrian. About 3.5 years into it, I started going to different and kind of figured, there's no real religion for me, but spirituality, I'm definitely down with. And it was at that I remember literally laying in my bunk going, okay, God, I get it. I'm going to get out of the driver's seat and slide to the passenger seat and let you drive this thing. And in life, what my agreement with God is I'm going to pray and good about it. It feels like, and I get those good feelings that lets me know innately that this is an okay choice. I'm going to go ahead and do it to the fullest. And anything that I get where it's like, you probably shouldn't be doing this, or you probably shouldn't be here, I'm going to also take that as advice from the Lord, and go the other way. And two of the things that have really been huge for me is service to others, and improving my own life.
Pretty amazing. So you were in jail for 3 years and then got
Uh,
out?
just over 5.
Over 5 years. Wow. So how long has it been since you were released?
Just over 6 years.
Okay. And then how did you get into wheelchair basketball? Was there, when you got out, was there like a goal setting process, or what, kind of, you turned your life over to the Lord, but you also, obviously, you're very ambitious, you're driven, how does that work in terms of setting goals, or you just pray and look for inspiration, or kind of how do you deal with those kinds of things from an achievement standpoint?
I would definitely say it's a combination of the two. You're absolutely right, setting goals is a huge part of the process. Whether that's in your mind and knowing what you're constantly shooting for, or writing it down on paper, I would recommend both. Anyways, the thought process was okay. My number one goal. What is your number one goal, Aaron? And my number one goal was never ever give up my freedom ever again.
Okay.
Okay. I do not want to give up my freedom. So I knew that was my number one goal going in. And so I started to make a plan around that. What are the things that are going to make it so that I never give up my freedom again? And one of those things is I got to follow the law. Okay. I absolutely have to follow the law. And that means to the T. I have to do the best I can every day. And being at the time a parolee, I knew that I had to live a standard of life higher than any other type of citizen because I'm under scrutiny. I'm under the microscope. And so putting that all together, I knew those things like I gotta pay attention to the laws around me, even my surroundings. Who am I hanging out with, and why am I hanging out with them? Is this a good person for me to hang out with? Are they helping me get to my goal of never losing my freedom again, or are they going to help me get my freedom taken? And so a lot of different thought processes that go into it. Foremost, or the most important, I guess, is accountability. Because at the end of the day, you say what you want. Well, I hung out with this person and I shouldn't have been. But at the end of the day, that's right. You hung out with that person, Aaron. And so it doesn't come down to anybody else except for my own thought processes, and my own choices that we make. And that was another thing that I realized about it. It's all choice. I have the choice to not give up my freedom again. And through that, I can do that and accomplish it every single day by making the right choices. And then praying to God on top of it and saying, what is it that you'd have me do? Should I go out and volunteer? Should I talk to these kids? Because it's scary telling your story, because a lot of times people will use that against you or try to hurt you with it. And it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of amazing stories out there. And a lot of which we'll never get to hear because they're afraid of the scrutiny and the things that people may say to them because of what they've been through. But in my opinion, that makes them even stronger and somebody I do want to listen to because they've been there, done that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely a healing process around sharing things, even if it's just one other individual that you share it with, or
Yeah.
whether you're comfortable sharing it with a broader group. Um, Well, they say, if you stay in your own head, you're in a bad neighborhood. So, so it's good to get that stuff out.
Absolutely.
So, did you have a goal, to start participating in athletics again? How did you get into wheelchair basketball, and kind of give us the story around that?
Okay. Yeah, wheelchair basketball. So when I got out, my dad was remarried to a woman that he had dated for years, and when I got out, she says, what are you going to do as far as recreation activities? I said, well, I'm going to get a gym membership, and I'm going to go to the gym and those things. And she goes, well, I know, that you've said in the past you didn't want to, but if you ever consider it, my cousin is a guy by the name of Mike Schlappy. He happens to be a 3 or 4 time Paralympic gold medalist and all these accolades. He's been around for years playing wheelchair ball. Happens to be the coach of my current team. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll see. Didn't really progress anywhere. And then my dad had a friend named Vern Burgess who plays for another team or coaches another team up in the Ogden area of Utah. And he said, Aaron, look, I bugged you for years. One time, that's all I'm asking you is one time, come and check it out. If you like it, then you stay and play. If you don't, I'll never bother you again. So I said, okay. And I went and played. And by the time it got done, I thought, man, why is this stopping? When's the next practice? When are we going again? A couple of weeks later, I ended up getting in touch with Mike Schlappy, went to a practice of the Utah Wheel and Jazz and did something that I've been told never happens. And I stole the ball from Mike Schlappy twice in the same practice. And after that point, Jeff and Mike and Rod and some of those guys said, man, you got to play with us. What does it take, man? We'd love to have you. And then I ended up moving, so it ended up being the perfect choice for me to play with them because the area of Utah that I moved to was closer to them, anyways.
That's
So
awesome.
that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. And then obviously, a big part of what you're talking about is devoting your life to a life of service, kind of that service mentality. Um, how important has that been to kind of your physical, mental, and emotional health? And how do you think about those things?
Well, physical, mental, emotional health for me, even my spiritual health I would put in there. Um, I think the way that volunteering has helped me do that is because when you're volunteering and you're giving of yourself and seeing somebody start to achieve things where before they didn't even know, that there was a thing such as wheelchair basketball, helping them and laying down the path for them to follow. When they finally start to give into that, there comes such a self pride thing, that just builds up inside you. It starts with a pride, and then as you continue to help them build and you see the troubles that they go through and the obstacles that they have to get over, there it just continues to build, because then you're saying, listen, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I am going to tell you what my experience has been in it. And you can go from there, take it for what it's worth. If it's something that applies, then apply it. If it doesn't, then let it go out the other side, and we'll fix it another way, or we'll worry about it another way. So as far as physical health, obviously playing basketball, pushing a wheelchair, doing those things, it does help take care of the physical side. The emotional, to be perfectly blunt and honest with you, it literally has saved my life in many different ways. Emotionally being one of them. I grew up an athlete. I grew up playing all sorts of sports. If it involved competition, I probably wanted to play it when I was growing up, or did. And I have four older brothers, so a sport was always something that was played, whether mostly wrestling or butt kicking, as they would call it, because that's what they did to me a lot. Not anymore. Now I'm one of the biggest, so I can't do it anymore. But emotionally, that really helps a lot, because it was literally the place where I wanted to end my life. I thought playing sports was, if I couldn't play sports, what else was there? You know, so that's where it helps, emotionally and physically. Mentally, I would say the exact same thing. Saved me from myself. It got me out of my own head, because like you said, it's a lonely neighborhood that you don't want to be part of, stuck in your own head thinking of those things everywhere. So it also takes that focus off by volunteering and serving and giving back, because you're no longer focused on just me. You're focused on others, and therefore it lets yourself kind of get out and heal, and use your experiences to propel others forward. I think that's very important. People in life, a lot of times they make it, and then after they make it, they forget the most important part of making it. They're reaching back and helping somebody else become successful. I mean, if it's like sitting on a beach in Australia, and you look to your left and you look to your right and there's nobody there, why would you want to do that? That's pointless to me. If I can't have my family and my friends and everybody around me there, I don't see a point. So success is something that I feel like, because I've found a little bit of it, it's my obligation to show others and help others get to where I am. And what was the last one was spiritually. I feel like, spiritually, that is what we're supposed to be doing anyways as human beings, is giving back and following Jesus's example. And not to turn it into a religion talk, but I feel very strongly about my convictions in Christ and God. And so I do whatever I can to follow their example. And I'm not perfect at it. There's days I get mad or I get frustrated or I say something I probably shouldn't, but that's another opportunity to grow for me. I feel like that's one of those things where you get knocked off the horse. Don't sit and complain about how bad it hurts getting knocked off the horse. Just get back up and get on the son of a gun and start riding again. That's the only thing you can do anyways. You sit there and waste away. Is either quit or keep going. I'm not a quitter.
So you've started your own business.
Yep.
Are you kind of talk to me a little bit about, not only your strategy with your business, but your strategy of life, and kind of what's your bigger vision? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, in terms of career as well as yourself personally?
So, as far as the business side, I've always wanted to be a business owner and own my own businesses. I did start a drop shipping business. It was mostly drop shipping. There were some things that would actually come to the house and I'd have to deliver. It was kind of a nightmare, but it taught me a lot about running a business, and I still technically run it, and plan to keep on going with it. But I've since switched and have a few different business ideas I'd like to do. I'd like to um, take a couple of different ventures, one in pest control, owning a couple of convenience stores or gas stations, as well as a lawn care, snow removal, those type of things. Any type of place that has four seasons can allow that type of thing. Pest control as well. I can live pretty much anywhere, do that, and there's always going to be a need. So finding those things that are of need, and that and two or three of those are also labeled as essential right now as we're going through this coronavirus COVID stuff. So I want to find those things, and I think it's a smart choice to find those things that are, I guess, recession proof or crisis proof, so to speak. Everybody's going to always need gas. They're always going to want the bugs and the pests gone, and things like they're always going to want their yard to look nice, and weed and feed and all that stuff. So that's kind of strategically where I see myself going. I also hope in the next 4 or 5 years to learn as much as I can from you, Patrick. You know, probably the most about starting a small business of anybody I know, which is saying a lot because I know quite a few business people, and they've started their own business. They're successful at business. So my goal in that time is to learn as much as I can from you, not only to just apply it to myself and the businesses that I want to run, but also use it to help others that I mentor, to become great business owners. I think everybody in the world should own their own business, man. It's just a better way to do things. Control your own time. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but there's so much that you get from it. And then employing other people. I want to employ 10 to 20 people, maybe more. I think that's one of the greatest gifts of I guess capitalism, is the ability to help others support their family. And when you can do that, you start to have communities that are stronger. I think a lot of the times the problem that we have with absent fathers is the fact that they don't feel a sense of pride being able to support their family. And the truth is, it's hard being a dad, so they leave, and I think when you give that ability back to people to be able to support their family, man or woman, it just brings a lot of great things to the community. So I'd love to also be able to employ several people. In the immediate future, in the next 2 years, I just recently accepted a scholarship to go back to school, and I'll also get to play a little wheelchair basketball for the school. It's at University of Texas Arlington, so shout out to them and Doug Garner for extending that offer. And so I can't wait to get down there. I'll miss my family like crazy and all that good stuff. But I remind myself daily that this is where you grow. Well, one of my pet peeves in life is people say all the time, change is scary. It's like, yeah, because you always tell yourself that. Why don't you say that change is a chance for opportunity? Change is a way to fix what's been broken. Change is a lot of things, but scary, in my opinion, it shouldn't be one of them. But it's usually the one word that's mentioned after change is, more than any other word out there.
Sure.
Change is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I think that's such a positive and incredible attitude, and kind of embracing change, and going for it. Really putting yourself out there and being willing to accept the risks and the challenges. I think sometimes when you go through a significant event, you and I both grew up in kind of challenging environments growing up.
Right.
And what I've always told myself and others that have been interested is that I think that I have a higher threshold of ability to deal with stress than
Yeah.
most people because of the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So it's, from a business standpoint, there are a lot of stressful times. Right now is a stressful time. 40 or 50% of the gross national product of the United States is small to mid-sized businesses, and we're one of them.
Right.
So, these are the businesses that are most vulnerable in a situation like this. And even with the government support, that's been offered, but really isn't implemented yet, fully implemented,
Right.
there's these challenges. And you, like you said, when you employ other people, which, we do in our company, that's kind of like your extended family.
Right.
You have a responsibility towards those people, and you don't want to just have massive layoffs. You want to keep people employed, not only for the health of the business, but for them and their families.
Right.
And there's a responsibility and obligation that at least I carry with me around that. And it's just a very challenging time.
At least for I can control what I can control, right?
Right.
So the things that I can control are the movements of myself, the movements of my family, and those are those, and also how I conduct myself. I can choose to look at it like, oh man, this sucks. This is the worst thing ever. I'm not gonna do this. They can't make me, type of attitude, which there's a lot of those out there. And then there is those that are just like, man, just do it, and let's get through this and be done. I tend to stick with the latter, just because I think that the best thing you can do right now is figure out ways to improve yourself, figure out ways that are going to help you get ahead when you come out of this. There shouldn't be too many people panicking. I understand that people are losing their jobs. However, that help is on the way. It hasn't been implemented yet, and it's not a ton of help, but I think it's enough to help people keep going. If for some reason you're in a bind and you don't have money, you don't have this, you don't have that, reach out to your friends, reach out to me, reach out to somebody,
Yeah.
because I promise there's plenty of people out there, myself included, that will find a way to help you, whether it's through employment. And you may have to do some things that you normally wouldn't, like swallow your pride. Just because you were a CEO at one point doesn't mean that you shouldn't go get a job for a couple of months at Walmart because they're open. And it's really by any means necessary. What are the necessary things I need to do to put food on the table for my family and a roof over their head? And it comes down to those essentials. So I feel like the biggest thing that we can do is have a calm. And I know, and I get, there's so many people out there that go on, you idiot, what do you mean calm? I don't have a job. I get that. But you still have to use rationale in everything that you do. If you start to just go crazy with it, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? You're gonna be in a panic, stressed mess. You unless you have an ability, and were raised kind of like me and you were, where we have a little bit higher tolerance for stressful situations. And I'm also a Leo, so those times of chaotic is when I shine. It's after it's calm and everything goes back to normal, that's where I kind of lose my value. So I would say find your
Yeah.
strengths, work on them, practice them. I've taught myself since coronavirus to shoot left-handed, which I'm a right-hander. I've posted some videos on TikTok and social media platforms of challenges of standing up with just one leg, doing handstands on crutches, just being silly and having fun with it, and doing those things that make me happy. If it makes me smile, I'm going to put it on video and hopefully help somebody else smile. But keeping a positive attitude, I'd say, would be the absolute number one thing. That, and every single day, letting God or your creator, your higher power, whatever it is, let him, her, them know that you're thankful for the things that you do have. You're thankful for that roof. You're thankful for your job, your food, money in the bank, that you have friends that are willing to help. Thank goodness that the president is trying to lend some kind of financial assistance. And again, it may not be a ton, but no, with this, it's not designed to make you a millionaire. It's designed to help you put food on the table and a roof over your head. And hopefully it can do that for people. but I have such a belief in America. We are, when it comes to these times where it's really hard situations, for some reason we band together really, really well. The only thing I don't like about that is that I wish it would be that way all the time, not just in a crisis mode, you know. So keep your positive attitude and thank God for what you do have, and be grateful that you do have a life and that you're here in the US of A, because right now with this going on, I don't think there's too many better places you could be.
For sure. So positive mental attitude, attitude of gratitude, appreciation for your creator, and remaining optimistic.
And
And
spend
we
time
do,
with those you love.
yeah, we have the freedoms we have available to us in this country are pretty amazing. I've traveled all over the world, and we've have some limitations on those freedoms right now,
Right,
for hopefully a good reason. Not always something I agree to, but I'm like you said, I'm going with the flow. I'm not
right,
going out and forming rallies at this
right.
stage and trying to disrupt or overthrow the government. And I think that it's one of those things. It's a transient thing. We'll get through it. It's very sad, very unfortunate that some people are losing their lives.
Right.
But people lose their lives over hunger. I mean, there's
Yeah.
more people that die of hunger than pretty much anything else in the world.
Water still kills more people in the world than anything else.
Yeah,
Bad water.
yeah,
Yeah.
fresh water and enough food.
Right.
Those are our big crisis issues. But in this country, we really don't see it that much. But worldwide, those are the big issues. It's pretty crazy.
Well, our infrastructure is still in place. Grocery stores are still open. Water, power, sewage, all of that is still up and running, and will
Yeah.
continue to be. So we're definitely not in DEFCON 3 like some other countries are, which is unfortunate. And I pray for them as well, that they get the help they need, because it really is very, very sad.
Yeah. Well, this has been terrific. Really appreciate your time, Aaron. This has been helpful for me. It's always nice to be around positive, enthusiastic people, and it's what's so fascinating to me too is that, and we all have handicaps. We all have our issues. Definitely I do,
Yeah.
and yours is more visible,
Right.
but it's like you would never know. I mean, your attitude is such that you don't really see it as a limitation.
Right.
You've kind of leveraged it, and I think that's just such an incredible thing, and one of the reasons why I have so much respect and admiration for you. So I think it's incredible.
Well, thank you very much, and I have the same admiration for you as well. Reaching out to a guy you didn't know for no other reason than just being a friend, and that's very, very rare. I wish there was more of that in the world. And I agree. Everybody does have their own handicap or disability, but it's funny because people that don't know me and have never met me in real life, I did a TikTok video where I had my prosthetic on and I jumped up, and when I came down, it was only the one leg, and they were like, wait, how did he do that? Like,
That's pretty amazing.
yeah.
All right. So how can people get a hold of you? What are your social media handles? How can people reach out to you if they want to either connect with you or have you speak somewhere? I know that doing motivational speaking is something you aspire to do more of.
Yes.
And how can people reach you? And if they have an interest in that.
Social media, Derek Aaron Summerall. I'm assuming Patrick will also put these in the video as links,
Yeah.
but Instagram the same, Derek Aaron Summerall. Pretty much everything. My handle is Derek Aaron Summerall, DerrickAaron Summer SUMMERILL. And they can also reach me by cell phone, 385-626-3311. Reach out to Patrick, and message me on Facebook, on Instagram, whatever. I respond to it all.
Awesome. Terrific. Well, thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate it. And we'll catch up again soon.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate it very much, sir.
You bet, man.